Welcome to Six Figure Side Hustle. In today's episode, I interview Brad Munroe of REI Freedom Club, and he is going to tell us how he started in wholesaling and some six-figure strategies in real estate. So I know you guys really want to know how to crack into real estate, how to make a lot of money, and how to find the best deals. So stay tuned because we're going to get into all of that. Hi, Brad. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to hear more about your journey.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So let's just jump right into it. Tell me how you got started in your six-figure side hustle.
So, I come from a family where, I'm half Hispanic, half Jamaican. So I come from a family where, school and college was non-negotiable. So, I did all that. I went to school. I graduated from Morgan State University with a degree in communications. I did all that. I got the job. To be honest, it wasn't, they say you're going to get a job right out of college. It wasn't that easy. And this was years ago. I'm not going to tell my age, but this was years ago. It's even back then, it wasn't easy to get a job. It took me knowing somebody to finally get in the door. And once I got in the door, I was doing something that wasn't really in my degree. So anyway, I took that job.
Was that during the Great Recession?
Huh? What's that?
Was that during the Great Recession? I know some of us are.
Yeah, it wasn't too far. It wasn't too far.
Some of us were forced into entrepreneurship, and others found our way. So I'm always just curious if you were trying to find a job during that, like 2008.
It was somewhat in that time frame. And because of that, because of what was happening in the economy, that company was forced to lay a lot of people off. Of course, they laid off a lot of the new hires. So,
right.
I was down. I was down and out, man. I was expecting to be there for quite a while, and I was growing in that position. I had just bought a new car, it was, and it was a pretty nice car. So I thought I was doing it. But after that, my income was wiped out. And, I was scrounging around trying to find a job. And I said, I'm not going to even do this work thing anymore. I'm going to go to New York City. That's where I'm originally from. I'm going to go back to New York City, and I'm going to actually pursue my passion of music. I used to sing, and I put out an album in Germany, and I did all this stuff. So, I got back into that. I got back into recording, doing what I love. But to be honest, it just wasn't paying the bills. So I ended up actually pursuing real estate. I was a real estate agent in New York City. And that's when I think, fell in love with real estate. And that's when I saw, agents aren't really making a lot of money. It's the developers that were really making the money. Because you would look at the HUDs, at closing, and you would see, I made this commission, but, this developer made almost $500,000. And that's when I was like, okay. So I had to figure out that side of things. But I was still an agent. I was still doing my thing. Took me a while to finally and I'll get there, but it took me a while to finally kind of get my groove in this whole space. But I started to self-educate. I went to a Donald Trump seminar back then. And to be honest, I left that seminar devastated because they were charging like $50,000 for coaching. And I was like, oh my God, I don't got that type of money, So, I left there devastated, but I didn't give up. I still continued to research. And then I ended up taking a job as a teacher. I had like a million jobs. Ended up taking a job as a teacher, teaching middle school students. Quit that because those kids were bad as hell. And then, I said, I got to figure this real estate thing out. I ended up moving back to Baltimore, At that time, I was married. I got a job working for it was a lease up. It was an apartment building, a new luxury apartment building, and I was leasing apartments there. Still trying to find my way in this real estate thing. And we actually closed our first deal while I was working, right? And, the deal was actually 700 miles away. We were in Baltimore, and we closed the deal 700 miles away in Detroit, Michigan. And that was like the light bulb moment for me when I was like, okay, so this business does work. We made a ton of mistakes, but we closed our first deal from 700 miles away. Fast forward, I was fired from that job that I was at. So I was fired again. And it was the worst time because my wife was actually pregnant with our firstborn child. And, I was like, what the heck am I going to do? And I thank God for real estate because I want to say a few weeks after I was fired, I closed a $25,000 deal with no money down. And after that, I was like, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm never going to go back to the whole 9-to-5 thing. And that's just me personally. I don't knock 9-to-5s, but for me, I had a bad experience, in corporate America. And
you kept getting fired.
Yeah, exactly. And I had to pave my own way, and I'm never going to let a job dictate my financial future. I just can't do that, So, I closed that $25,000 deal and I never pushed the clock since, man. So now today, own 2 real estate companies. We buy real estate, we flip real estate. It's fun. And most of all, I'm able to use this and leave a legacy behind for my kids. Now I got 2 boys. And that's what it's important. That's what's most important to me because, I didn't have that. I didn't have real estate and I didn't have assets, coming up, that would kind of put me ahead. I had to find my own way, and I don't want them to go through that. I want to make sure that they're in a position where they can own real estate and, be able to benefit from all, that this business brings.
That is a really amazing story of what kind of forced you into entrepreneurship, where you're kind of interested, but yeah, when you keep getting fired, it's like, all right, God, are you trying to tell me something?
Right, exactly.
But it sounds like it really worked out for you.
Yeah.
So you said that you have 2 real estate companies and you do fix and flips. Is that your only strategy?
So we do some fix and flips. So one company is more so focused on buying and holding real estate. Okay. The other company is more focused on flipping. So, we'll buy and flip. We'll do a lot of wholesaling in that company as well. And then I have an educational company as well. So.
Okay. So what strategy did you make your first 6 figures in? Was it the wholesaling? Was it the flips?
Right. My first, it was a combination, but, it was a combination to get over $1 million. Right. But, my first 6 figures came through wholesaling 100%. I recommend that for anybody who's trying to get started in this business. That's the way to do it risk-free and with little to no money. I mean, it's always better, obviously, if you have money when you're starting a business, but you don't need any money to do wholesaling.
Can you walk us through for anyone who doesn't know what wholesaling is, and then kind of walk us through the framework to get started? Because I do think that, right now real estate is so trendy as far as investing. And then you go to do it and you're like, well, wait, they said I don't need money. But the bank is saying, yes, you do. You need 20 or 30% down. So could you just give us some background about wholesaling, and then just if anyone is interested, kind of what steps they would take to get started?
So, I would say real estate has been a trend for forever. That's how I look at it because, we're both sitting in real estate right now. Everyone's going to always need a place to live. Real estate is the industry that has made the most millionaires since forever. So it's the trend that's going to stay around, and so, in terms of for someone trying to get started. So a lot of people don't understand that they can control real estate with $0, right? You can actually control real estate with $0. The thing is, and what they don't teach you is that every real estate contract is actually called an option contract. It gives you the option to either buy that real estate, or you have the option to pretty much flip that real estate. You're right. So, and it's all about how you kind of write the contract. But in terms of how a wholesale deal is done, what you have to get good at is finding good deals, right? And I teach my students how to find good deals. There's ways to market so that you're only contacting people who need your help. As wholesalers, what we're doing is we're helpers, right? We're trying to help people in distress situations get out of these situations, and we get paid handsomely by doing that. So, if you don't have any money, one way to do it is just by speaking to everyone in your realm of influence, letting them know that you're looking to invest in real estate and that you're buying houses in any condition. Another way to get started is to drive around and look for distressed houses, properties that have, junk cars in the driveway, windows busted, high grass, mail overflowing, just obvious signs of distress, right? Once you find that person's information, you can actually jot down that address, and then you can skip trace that person's address using a company called batchskiptracing.com. And you can actually...
Batch or match?
No, batch. Batch skip tracing.
Batchskiptracing.com.
Yep. Correct.
So you find the property that looks crazy,
right.
That property that looks crazy on the block, but not in necessarily a neighborhood where all the houses look crazy on the block.
Exactly.
Kind of like the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's rough.
Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't say totally disregard the hood, because eventually that real estate is going to go up. But if you can find a property, that diamond in the rough, that the worst house on a nice block, then you're going to really make some money pretty quickly, because there's going to be obviously a larger demand for something like that. I always tell people, don't disregard the hood, buy in the hood, because, I come from New York, the hood, right? For instance, my grandfather, he owned, God rest his soul, he passed away. He bought a property in Park Slope. I'm not sure if anybody knows what Park Slope is in Brooklyn, New York. But Park Slope, is crazy now. But, crazy in a good way. He bought that house for $15,000. Today, that house is worth $2.1 million, right? So real estate, it's going to appreciate every year. On average, real estate has been appreciating about 15% every year, right? So even in the hood, so we have to take that into consideration. And we also have to look at the signs, observe the signs as you drive into the hood, see what's happening around, see if you see people walking their dogs, see if you see some Starbucks, popping up. And that's when you see there's going to be some, gentrification happening. And you listen, you want to be a part of that, There's nothing wrong with owning real estate in a bad area, because it's gonna eventually pan out for you.
Very interesting take on things, because when you're from the hood, the G word is like a bad word. Right. But I tell people, like, if you live in that neighborhood, who better than to take advantage of the opportunities than the people in the neighborhood, because they know everyone, they know what's going on.
Exactly.
And even if you have to come together, do you want to come together and make $100,000, or do you just want to watch all these people who aren't from the neighborhood come in and make, hundreds of thousands of dollars?
100%, man. And you touched on a good point, group economics. We have to, especially, our people, we have to really understand that, Black and Hispanic people and colored people, we're behind in the wealth curve, so we have to understand that we have to, it's no problem in doing it together. There's no problem in that, and you have to understand that, real estate is not going to wait for anyone, so as the market continues to turn and the prices continue to go up, you have to position yourself. You have to position yourself, and whether it's a bunch of you or just you by yourself, you have to position yourself so you can benefit from that appreciation. It's not going to wait for you. You have to jump in. You got to take advantage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because the markets, once you get into a market and it's kind of warm, but once it's hot, then
Right.
everyone's rushing in.
Exactly.
So I definitely understand what you're saying. And, do you want to get it when everyone's rushing in, or like your grandfather when it was $15,000
Right.
and now it's, 1,000% more valuable than when he got it?
It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
So yes, those are a lot of good points. So let's get back to wholesaling a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you find the property. What type of agreement are you usually getting? You did mention you get an agreement where you could either buy it, you have the option contract.
Right.
Or is this stuff like you're having lawyers write, or is there like a template? Like I always want to know where people, like I want to know all the steps, because a lot of people will be like, oh, it's easy. You just find the property, you get it under contract, then you feel like, whoa. Let's break down some of these steps for everyone, because I do think wholesaling, you're not the first person who I've heard that's like the gateway strategy for real estate.
Right.
So I think that, more people need to understand how to get into it, even if you're just working from your backyard.
Right. And I think, what people have to understand about wholesaling, you're in such a power position, because once you can learn how to identify good deals and how to find these deals consistently, you're essentially controlling the market, right? Because people have to come to you for these deals. And then you're also controlling, your legacy, because if you can find the money to capitalize on these great deals that you find, you can build a multi-million-dollar portfolio, because you've identified how to find, these deals, So I tell people, don't sleep on wholesaling, because it's truly like, it's the way that you can really control a lot of real estate in your area, But in terms of the contract, the contracts that I use have been looked over by dozens of attorneys. So essentially, you can use two contracts when you're looking to wholesale. You can use what's called an option contract, which is a one-page agreement. It spells out the terms of the contract that you're actually looking to market the property for the seller, right? As long as they sign it and they understand what's happening, there's transparency there. They can sign that, and you can just market the property for them. Or you can use an actual purchase contract. Now, once you use a purchase contract, you're putting your name or your company on that contract, saying that you're going to purchase that contract, and that you're going to close in 30 days or 45 days or 60 days. Now, what you want to do, what I tell people, is that if you're going to use a purchase contract as opposed to an option contract, you want to make sure that you put some type of contingency in that contract, so you have an out, some type of out clause in there, so you can back out and you're not stuck if you can't close, right? But those are the two contracts that I use, either an option contract or actual purchase and sale agreement.
Perfect. But definitely have a lawyer look it over in your state, make sure you're within the parameters. Because I know in my city of Philadelphia, now you have to go through and get a license to wholesale. So I've heard some cities are kind of taking a few extra steps to, they call it protecting. I guess
the realtors are hating. Let's just call it what it is. The realtors are hating. they hate it. They see the bag we making, and they kind of hating. But it's to be expected. But I tell everyone, if you know what you're doing, that still doesn't have to stop you. There's still ways to. You absolutely want to make sure you have you're right. You want to make sure you have, wherever you're in, whatever jurisdiction you're in, make sure you have an attorney in that area, a real estate attorney, look at that contract. But the contract I've used hundreds of times and no problems. The 2-page agreement, we keep it short and simple. just because we don't want it to feel like a real estate agent. We don't want the seller to feel like it's a complicated process. The psychology behind
Right.
it is it's 2 pages. We're in and out. We're gonna get this deal done, and we try to keep everything on the up and up. So that's why we like to keep the contract short.
Perfect. So what's an average fee you make for wholesaling? Like
Right.
what's the minimum you would look to make?
Okay.
And what's the maximum you have made?
Right. So, I really don't like to share the maximum, but what I'll say is the average fee is around $15,000. That's on average what we make per deal. I've done deals as low as, $1,000. That's because things happen and buyers want to renegotiate and stuff like that. But the average fee is 15,000, and we've had some really nice ones as well. But I'll say that you can make on a wholesale deal, you can make as much as $100,000 on a deal. And if you're doing
Okay, that's what I was getting to.
let me not even cap it at that. I mean, you can make more than that if you're doing like multifamily and commercial real estate. You can make even more than that. But yeah, I mean, you can even with single family
Okay, so you
residential.
can wholesale commercial properties just like single family properties.
Exactly. You can really wholesale anything. The verbiage in the contract, it's just contract law, which is a lot. Because the thing about wholesaling is it's just kind of the play on words in the contract. Contract law is contract law. So
Right.
just like with credit card companies, they assign debt to other creditors, stuff like that. That's the same thing we're doing essentially with real estate. We're assigning, but instead with us, we're assigning an asset, right, that has value to another investor via a one-page document.
Very, very interesting. So you got started with the wholesaling, and then did that kind of free up capital where you had more options in real estate, or you could kind of keep the better deals for yourself?
Absolutely.
Did you?
Absolutely. And what happens is another thing about wholesaling is, we make it a point, and I teach my students how to find these deals at 30 to 50 cents on the dollar. So when you're in a property, so that means I'm getting $100,000 property at anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000. So that's another thing about wholesaling. Once you're able to find and identify and lock up these types of deals, it's easy to find partners, hard money lenders, things like that to partner with you on these deals because, you've got it at such a low price. You've created enough margin where there's room for error, there's room for market changes, and, you can buy a property, fix it up, pay interest, and still have money on the back end. So that's the good thing about being direct to the seller. I'm sorry. So I just knocked this thing over. That's the good thing about being direct to seller with these wholesale deals. Now you're able to figure out if you want to wholesale it or if you want to, raise the money or use your own money to actually buy it and take it down and either own that real estate, create an income producing asset for yourself, or just go ahead and flip it on the retail market and make a nice chunk of change.
Interesting. So now you are more in the fix and flip realm and the buy and hold, or do you still?
I still
is wholesale
man.
still your first love?
I still wholesale.
Okay.
I'll never stop wholesaling. I mean, just from a cash flow perspective, because I suggest that even when you start to buy rentals, you still have some type of active income coming in from your real estate, because you can use that active income to pay down your rentals, the mortgage on your rentals. The thing about rental income, on average, you're only getting $300 to $500 a month cash flow from a lot of these rental properties, right? So who's going to live off of that, right? So you got to have 100 to really be able to sustain, right? So that's why definitely recommend doing both. Having your income generating assets, but also having some type of flips going on, or some type of other business where you can generate large chunks of money and then pay down those assets.
Very interesting. Yeah, I like that idea where you're getting the active income to pay for the passive assets.
Exactly.
And then eventually you get to that,
right.
50 to 100 rentals,
Right.
then you're making
$50,000
a month.
Right.
And you could almost live off that.
Exactly.
You could almost live off that.
Exactly.
All right. So we are going to do what's called the Rainmaker Round. I'm going to ask you a few questions for the audience. Okay. And you have to get it right. No, I'm just kidding.
No. All right.
Okay. So just first thing off the top of your head, what book are you reading right now? So
I am actually rereading Building a Story Brand. Right now I'm in a place where I've learned a lot, and I'm starting more and more businesses, including some businesses with my family. So I wanted to revisit that book. It has a lot of great nuggets in there. So that's what I'm currently reading
Building a Story Brand.
Right now.
Okay. What book would you recommend to someone who wants to follow in your six-figure footsteps?
Yeah. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's like that's Old Faithful right there. But, it's just, it really breaks down. Handbook. Say it again.
The Entrepreneur's Handbook.
Exactly. Right.
Everyone's first book, basically.
Exactly. It really just breaks down, two types of people, and it shows the importance of getting yourself in a position where you can invest, because, especially right now with inflation and what's happening, there's so many people who were hoping to retire but can't now, because they just didn't invest correctly. So, it's just important, man, that everyone figures out a way to invest and diversify. We see what's happening with the stock market. We see what's happening with crypto. So it's important to diversify your assets, and of course buy right. With what I teach my students is really how to buy these assets the right way. So even when the market kind of tanks or corrects as it's happening right now, you're still in a position where you have equity. Right. And that's the beauty of wholesaling. You learn how to buy these properties the right way, get in at the right price so you can still benefit from appreciation. And it's recession proof. If you're buying it the right way, what you're doing, you can position yourself so you can still be well off even in these crazy times.
Yeah, I think that's a very important lesson, to buy right. What is your favorite quote?
Oh, man. So favorite quote, man, there's a lot out there, right? So, Martin Luther King, he has a quote. I think it says something to the effect of, never. Oh man, I'm gonna get it wrong here. This is bad. This is bad. But it says something to the effect of.
I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. You have to inspire us all right now.
Right. Let me think what he says. Okay, so I think it says it's like something like to the effect that we must accept finite all right, I got you. We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. So it says we must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope. Life is a bumpy ride, man. It's up and down, and we have to expect that. I think that, we start to get depressed and stuff like that when we don't understand that life is supposed to go up and down. But, you have to just have that infinite hope, knowing that it's going to get better.
I like that. I'm really glad you were able to pull it together. I don't think I've heard that quote, but that is, Yeah, that's life. If you can't handle the bumps and the
Yeah.
downs, it is going to be a rough
Yeah.
ride.
Um,
What is the hardest lesson that you're grateful for that
ooh.
you learned?
The hardest lesson is, I think the hardest lesson for me, man, I never got asked this question. Wow. I think for me, um, it's always having, um, always having the right support system, man. I mean, that may not be a lesson, but um, for me, having the right support system, like my wife, like my family, um, having that positive influence in your life, because entrepreneurship is hard. I don't care how good you're doing in entrepreneurship. Um, you know, to whom much is given, much is required, right? So there's you take a lot of bumps and bruises as an entrepreneur, but having that solid support system, um, is like there's no price you can put on that, So yeah, that I hope that answers your question.
I like
Yeah,
that. No, that, yeah, you need a support
yeah,
system. So luckily you didn't have to learn that lesson
right,
of what it's like to go through those bumps by
right.
yourself, but it's a whole different ball
Mm-hmm,
game.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to know, for the audience who wants to make these, $15,000 to $100,000 wholesale
Right.
deals, or really learn from a wholesale master, how can they get more information? I know you said you teach your students, so what does that look
Right.
like?
So yeah, I mean, I do free master classes. They can actually go to reifreedomclub.com / free masterclass. But the best way is just to follow me on Instagram. Um, I am Brad Munroe. That's IAMBRADMUNROE. Follow me on Instagram. That's the best way to kind of keep up with me and see what I'm doing, see what I'm offering. But what I will say is that, I'm really looking for serious people and people who really want to learn, not just wholesaling, but want to learn all the facets of real estate investing. As we expand the coaching program, we're bringing in, high level people to help people learn not just wholesaling, but land development, Airbnb, tax deeds, a whole bunch of different things. And that way you can be a well-rounded investor and you can really, because the whole key, as what I always tell people, you don't want to just be a wholesaler. That's going to limit you as an investor. You want to be a transaction
Right.
engineer. So you want to be able to look at a deal and be able to find um, what's the absolute best return on investment with that particular property. What's going to give you the best return on investment? Is it going to be wholesale? Is it going to be to buy it, hold it for 5 years and flip it? Is it going to be just to buy and hold it? Is it going to be to do an owner finance situation? So that's what I want to teach people in my program, is how to look at deals and find the best and highest use for every asset that they come across.
Perfect. Very, very interesting. Well, if you want to get more information, definitely check out those links. We'll put them in the comments section. If you are part of the Rainmakers Alliance, these next few questions are for you. And if you're not, join the Rainmakers Alliance, because we ask the hard-hitting questions that you only get to hear in our membership site. So with that, thank you, Rainmakers. Okay, just stick around for a second so I can ask just one more question,
Yep.
2 more questions, 3 more questions. Okay. So this is for the Rainmakers. This is for the members who are part of the Alliance. Give yourself a piece of advice you wish you knew at the start of your six-figure journey? Like, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would you tell yourself?
That you have to have a why. You have to have something. You can't be going into business with like just for self. You got to make sure that you have something that's bigger than you, that's pushing you. Because there's going to be days when you want to quit, and if you're doing it for yourself, you're just going to quit. But if you're doing it for something that's bigger than you, then you're not going to quit. You got to have that why.
Perfect. If someone wanted to get started today, what are 3 action steps that they could take?
Okay. Start telling everyone in your realm of influence that you're looking to get started in real estate. You might be able to find a mentor that way. You might be able to find properties that way. So don't be quiet about it. Tell people what you're looking to do. Word of mouth is always going to be the best form of marketing. So that's number 1. Number 2, get in your car and just start driving around. Learn your marketplace, see what places are developing, see what places are not developed, and start to jot down addresses of those properties that you see that are distressed, and then go ahead and get in contact with those owners. Number 3, find ways to connect with. So network. Find ways to connect with other people in your city or state that are doing what you want to do, right? And find a mentor. Find a mentor that will, because our job as mentors is to cut that learning curve in half for you, right? So mentorship, even if you got to pay for it, it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run. It's going to save you a whole lot of money. So. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And last question. What are 3 rookie mistakes to avoid?
Oh, wow. So this is great because I have a book about this. It's called The Real Estate Investor Survival Guide. So you can go to my Instagram, click the link, you can get that book. But 3 things I talk about in that book are 1, only wholesaling. Right. So when you only wholesale, you limit yourself as an investor. You have to become a well-rounded investor, and you have to always look for the best and highest use of that investment. That may not only be wholesaling. Number 2 is underestimating repair costs. So a lot of new investors do not know how to estimate repair costs with properties that they're looking to buy. And if you underestimate repair costs, boy, you're going to lose a lot of money. So, you have to really learn how to estimate repair costs the right way. Number 3, I would say is just not believing in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. Like with the days of doubt and stuff like that, you got to put that behind. You got to believe in yourself, and you got to go after this wholeheartedly. You can do it. You have everything in you. God made you for a reason. You have to understand that. And if He gave you that thought, that's indication that you're supposed to be doing what you're looking to do. So go out here and get it, man. Go out here and get it. The world is yours, baby.
That is great advice. That is really great advice. Rainmakers, go out, make it rain. Make sure you buy the book. Follow Brad at his Instagram. All the links again will be in the show notes. And see you for the next episode.
Awesome.